Hey everyone, it's Michael Goosebumps fan. I hope you're doing well today. Happy weekend. It's Saturday, my second Saturday of my married life. It's real weird. My wife and I have been talking about that today. Anyway, today I have an episode review for you that I promised to get out yesterday. I did the review. I wasn't really happy with how it came out. Of course, I do mine in one take, one shot, whatever. As you can tell with my stuttering and my ums and my ands and all that stuff. So be prepared. Also, I burnt my bottom lip on some pizza that I made yesterday, and it hurts really bad. So if I talk and I get a lisp and I get all kinds of other stuff going on, forgive me. I'm going to try not to have that, but it might happen anyway. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about A Night in Terror Tower Part 1 and Part 2. I have a VHS tape here. I've not seen it on VHS. I've only seen this episodes, two-parter, a couple of times in my life. I saw it once, probably 4 or 5 years ago when it was on Netflix, the whole show, not just like season 1 like Netflix tends to do a lot of the time. It was when the whole show was on Netflix, and I bought this cassette tape. I pretty much bought all the cassette tapes I could get my hands on because I love Goosebumps, I love cassette tapes, big VHS and VCR fan. I love that stuff. We're going to a flea market next Saturday. I can't wait for that. Big one. I'm also wearing my Ghost Beach shirt, that my sweet mother got me for a wedding present. Anyway, A Night in Terror Tower, Part 1 and Part 2 premiered on February 25th of 1996. Both episodes, same night, not one a week later or anything like that. It was a big old two-parter, and of course the two-parters for Goosebumps episodes like Night of the Living Dummy 3, Stay Out of the Basement, Haunted Mask Part 1 and Part 2, both of those things, all of those things, typically have a higher budget than most Goosebumps episodes. In Night in Terror Tower, I recently read the book for the first time. I read it and reviewed it. And I really like that book a lot. It's very good, very kind of medieval-ish, fantasy-like, a very good book, very chasey type book with a lot of chase scenes. It's pretty much one big chase as a story. By the way, this is Season 1, Episodes 16 and 17 for this particular adaptation thing. I hadn't seen this in so long, I kind of wondered how well the episode would hold up, and after reading the book was so good that I was kind of surprised how much I liked the episode more than the actual book. I kind of said that in my review from what my memory was. It's confirmed with this rewatching. I actually really dig it more than the book, but just barely more. It's a really good adaptation, but it's also better in execution, I think, in some ways. Of course, the kid acting is not extremely perfect, but we'll get there in a little bit. Of course, this is directed by William Fruet, or Fruet, F-R-U-E-T, I'm not really sure how to say his name, but he's also the guy who directed Attack of the Mutant Part 1 and Part 2, well, the two-parter for that. He directed Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns, the TV episode. He directed a lot of good ones. Stay Out of the Basement, the two-parter for that. A lot of good ones. William Fruet, definitely one of the top people, like Timothy Bond, who made a lot of the two-parters for Goosebumps as well. And William Fruet's one of the keys to the Goosebumps TV show succeeding the way it did, I think. He and Timothy Bond. Timothy Bond even more so in my opinion, but of course William Fruet also made Haunted Mask 2, the two-parter for that, which is, in my opinion, one of the best of the Goosebumps episodes. Night in Terror Tower. I always saw advertisements for this when I was a kid. It's also a VHS tape, kind of like this VHS tape that I got, that when I was a kid and I started getting into Goosebumps when I was very young, we'd go to Hollywood Video and we'd rent like Night of the Living Dummy 3. If my grandfather was going to the store during the week when I was at school, and I was very young, probably less than 10 years old, and if he would go to get whatever for the week, whatever my family was going to watch, he would always pick up this if they didn't have Dummy 3, or Haunted Mask 2 on VHS, just to give me something new from Goosebumps in case I'd like this as well. And it was thoughtful, but I was always an ungrateful kid. I'm not going to lie to you, I was. Still am in some ways. I think all of us are ungrateful in a lot of ways. But he picked up this for me a couple of times. I didn't watch it at all. I didn't want to. It wasn't Dummy 3. It wasn't Haunted Mask. I didn't care. So I feel bad about that. I have a little guilt when I watch this, my own copy, or when I read the book or anything. I have a little tiny amount of guilt there. But man, I love it. It's a really good episode, really good two-parter. The budget is so high on this. I don't know what the actual numbers are. I don't think anybody does. But it's pretty great. It's pretty surprisingly great. It's very well made. Very well made, of course, it's William Fruet. That's expected. It's very surprisingly well put together. It's very enjoyable. It has kind of a tension to it that a lot of Goosebumps episodes don't have, kind of like how the book was so tense. The book was a giant chase scene. Like I said, in this episode, for the most part, is a giant chase scene through a castle type of thing. Not just there, some other locations too, but it's pretty faithful to that book. And I think it's a pretty good adaptation of that book to be about 40 minutes or so in total for the two episodes together. It's pretty good. I like it a lot. Where do we even start with this? Essentially, Sue and Eddie, brother and sister, are our main characters. And Sabrina, from Haunted Mask 1 and 2, Sabrina plays... Well, I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna call her by her actual name. I'm sorry, guys. Catherine Short comes back to play Sue here, who was Sabrina in the other episodes I talked about. You also have Corey Seaver, who's been in some other things I've seen in my life. He's here playing the younger brother, Eddie. And they are essentially in town in London for the first time like ever in their life, I believe, because their parents are at a conference, and they are just kind of signed up to go on tours and stuff. They're in a tour of this place called the Terror Tower, where people used to get tortured and killed and whatnot in the old medieval times. And I'm not a big medieval guy. I'm not really a big fantasy guy either. The book and this episode have a little bit of fantasy to them. Not a whole lot, but they do have enough there that it's interesting, I think, if you're a fantasy fan, what you'd think of this if you're not already a Goosebumps fan. This would be a good place for you to start if you like fantasy books. If you've never read a Goosebumps book, never seen a Goosebumps episode or anything like that, this would be a really good place for you to start at. Anyway, so, I'm sorry I keep clearing my throat, by the way. I'm just having this weird, like, September allergies that are kind of coming through, even though it's October. It's October. It's fall allergies. Whatever. Anyway, it's kind of hitting me. I'm clearing my throat a whole lot. And sniffing. It's not Rona, I promise. Anyway, so they go into this terror tower, and they sort of kind of see some things here and there on this tour. There's one particular area involving some dummies that's a really creepy scene. I actually really enjoyed that. It involves the fellow on the cover here who doesn't really have the best adaptation here. Of course, this is Tim Jacobus' version of the Lord High Executioner. And he's not extremely wonderful looking here as an adaptation. It's not like the Haunted Mask or even Slappy, which I like the dummy Slappy they used for the TV show and stuff a lot more than most versions of Slappy from like the movie and from the books and stuff. I prefer that Slappy from Dummy 3's TV episode and Bride of Living Dummies episode. This Lord High Executioner, I like the one that's designed on the covers for Tim Jacobus books. The one here is not horrible. He's kind of cool, kind of spooky. There's some good scenes, some good scares in total with this whole episode. I actually think it's a pretty good adaptation with some creepy moments. There's some good things in here. One of my favorite things about the whole episode is actually the soundtrack. The soundtrack has, or score if you want to call it that, there's actually a song here that I immediately was like, that's from The Shining. It's like the song, it's like dun 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 dun. Yeah, you know the song. It's from the opening of The Shining, when they actually have the yellow Volkswagen driving through the mountains going towards the Stanley Hotel or whatever. Or whatever it's called, the Overlook Hotel in The Shining, but the place they filmed was the Stanley Hotel in real life in Colorado. So I thought it was pretty fascinating they had that song there. There was like the theme song for the Lord High Executioner in this entire episode. Even when the episode ended, you had this really unique credits music. You don't really get that very often with Goosebumps, but you had like a specific song that they made. It's like a remix of the Goosebumps cover with like a medieval type of instrumental sound to it for the end credits, and that was kind of neat. I liked a lot of that stuff. The acting, let's talk about the acting a little bit. The guy playing the Lord High Executioner was pretty good. He was pretty good. He was pretty creepy. He had his moments. I think if I was a kid, it would have scared me a whole lot more. If I had seen this episode in general when I was much younger, I would have been terrified of it. It's really spooky, really tense, really dark. I actually think the ending of this book, or this film, I was wrong, by the way, when like I said in my book review, I was wrong about this episode. The ending does not end darker than the book. It's a little bit darker, but not by much. It's more of the aspect of doom in the atmosphere of the episode. It makes it a little bit more eerie, a little bit more tense. But I actually think this is more executed in a better fashion than the book was. As odd as that is to say, as hard as that is to say, I gotta be honest, I think I like the episode more than the book, but the book is really good too. You should check out both, I believe, if I had to recommend them to you. But yeah, the acting was pretty good from both of the kids. Again, the girl, Catherine Short, playing Sabrina, playing Sue here, she's really good actress. I'm really surprised she hasn't gone too far in her career. From what I can tell, looking at IMDb, she didn't seem to go very far, but she was a talented girl, you know, for little pickup, like, side character actors, or actresses, positions, characters, whatever. She did a good job with all that. There's not really any special effects to talk about here, as far as I remember. There's a little bit of an odd element with the story here, with some of the fantasy elements that I do enjoy a lot. I think they're executed pretty well too. I don't really have a whole lot to say about the episode because I'm afraid of spoiling things. There's a whole lot to talk about with this episode, a whole lot to talk about with the book, and I just don't really want to tell you too much. I don't want to spoil all this for you. It's pretty cool, and it's wild. It's really wild, honestly. Overall, when it comes to A Night in Terror Tower, this is a really great episode adaptation, and as a standalone thing, if you haven't seen the book, if you don't care about reading the book, I said if you haven't seen the book. If you haven't read the book and you don't want to read the book, you should check this out. I think if you love the TV show alone, this is a really, really great two-parter. Really good episodes in general. Very creepy, very eerie, very good score, soundtrack, music, whatever you want to call that whole thing. It doesn't feel choppy, it doesn't feel rushed, very much like how most of these two-parter episodes do not feel rushed. The budget is extremely high. When they recreate things like the medieval settings, it looks great. The costumes look pretty great. I wish we had had the Lord High Executioner and the Executioner outfit looking better. You know, he kind of is okay, like I said, but he's not what I want him to be. But it's an adaptation, so I'm okay with that for the most part. It doesn't look bad at all. It's not what I wanted. You know, beggars can't be choosers. I'm a Goosebumps beggar. Anyway, I had a great time with this. If I had to rate a Night in Terror Towers TV episode, I would probably give it about a 4 out of 5 stars. It's a pretty great one. Pretty honestly great one. I would be close to giving it a 5 out of 5. I just wish the ending was more dark like I thought I remembered it being. I guess I must have completely like had dementia or something and completely imagined some ending that did not happen at all. I thought it was a way darker ending. It did not have that. There was a whole nother little angle to the ending, another couple of minutes I apparently just deleted from my brain. But I really like it. I like it better than the book. The book is good too. I gave them about the same rating in total. But they're both good. They're both good. I highly recommend the book and the episode if you haven't read them before or watched this before. You should. I think it'd be something you'd really like if you're a Goosebumps fan. I think you can also get this on DVD as well. I have a DVD copy myself. I just don't have it with me right now, moving into the new apartment and everything. By the way, I'm going to start having that light on so you guys can see because the last couple of videos were so dark. I'm sorry. I thought I would experiment. It didn't work out, so I'm sorry. That's all I can tell you. I have a couple of videos coming out for you guys today, so hopefully you'll be around for that, and hopefully you'll be happy about that. I'm trying to get some decent content out for you guys, at least stuff to talk about. Of course, it's in October now, so we have a lot of stuff to talk about. And yeah. Anyway, what are your thoughts on the Night in Terror Tower? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you love the book more, the TV episode more? What did you think? Did you want more Lord High Executioner, like a film coming up, or did you want more in the films that came out for Goosebumps movies and stuff? It would have been cool. It would have been cool to have had more of him. I remember back in the day, they had the Disneyland live show you can watch here on YouTube if you want to. I believe it's still up. They actually had a live stage thing at Disneyland or Disney World, one of the two, maybe both, I don't know. But they had one out there, and they actually had the Lord High Executioner as well as Slappy and Curly the Skeleton, all kinds of different characters in there. It was really cool. Really, really cool. I think even Cuddles was in that, I believe. But even so, really well done. Really surprisingly well done. And the Lord High Executioner, the way he looked in that TV show, or that, that live stage show, I mean, would have been great here. It would have been so cool to watch here. It could have been such a great costume to use. It just showed Disney at one point in time, used to be a cool place with some not crazy SJW tendencies that ruin things. And they're not that way anymore. It's kind of sad. We should have a Disney funeral. Just have a casket and have some Mickey ears on it. I don't know. Anyway, A Night in Terror Tower. Thank you guys for watching, for being here, for listening to me ramble and stuff. Thank you for watching. Have a good weekend. Be safe. I hope you'll tune in for the next couple of videos after this. God bless you guys. Goodbye.